yeah, the
He
black.
looked like some disheveled something that if you walked down in an alley in San Francisco somewhere, you might get robbed by this guy with a broken bottle.
Yeah. There was a promo, I don't know if it was Instagram or Twitter, but it was of him. I guess he was calling out Tony Atlas, and he had just won some kind of bodybuilding award, maybe in Georgia. But he looked incredible.
Yep.
He was leaned out. He had just won some kind of an award. His background is unbelievable. But the one thing that I want to pull out too was you talk about, and I'm going to relay this a little bit to Brock. One of the things that you like about Brock right now is that he's out on the independent, getting a lot of experience and exposure. As you look back at Sullivan, the diverse amount of territories that he worked, whether San Francisco, Florida, WWF, Georgia, Crockett, wherever, you got to know that he was able to take lessons from everywhere he worked. Booking styles, all that diversity had to help him in creating and crafting his own, not only his own wrestling style, but eventually how he would approach booking responsibilities too.
Well, in those days, you were bouncing around, to different territories, and there was like myself, when Bob Armstrong brought me down that for that first time, it was for 3 weeks. It wasn't. They didn't guarantee you any length of time. There were no contracts, none of that. You might be in a territory for 1 month. They may send you to the next territory with the caveat that all of got is underneath position, but you're welcome to it. We'll see how it works out, and you may stay there a year.
Hmm.
And you're wrestling every single day. That's why guys got better quicker. This is that's not available these days. Other than probably NXT and WWE. That's the only place that gets the reps that you have to have on a daily basis to see a change in 3 months with a guy. He's had to bend that ring 4 or 5 times a week, in my opinion.
Yeah. I want to talk about a little bit about his Prince of Darkness character because Arn, when he did it in the 80s, think about it. It was a time when, Satanism, not that it's in vogue now, but think about the 1980s. There's rising concerns about devil worship. Kevin Sullivan didn't care. He went for the shock value. I see guys in the chat left and right. He scared me when I was a kid. His eyes rolling back in his head. It was that Undertaker feel. Everything that he did. Do you remember your first reaction or when you were first exposed to the whole Prince of Darkness and what you thought about that, his gimmick back in those days?
Well, yeah, if it don't scare you, I mean, isn't that what we're taught from day one? There's good, there's evil, there's good versus evil, and you probably don't want to be on the wrong team when this all comes crashing down. I'm not sure you want to be on the devil worshiping side of life, but I mean, he had that look with the running,
mascara, the eye makeup stuff. Oh yeah,
he looked like some disheveled something that if you walked down in an alley in San Francisco somewhere, you might get robbed by this guy with a broken bottle.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a bit significant gamble. He and Eddie Graham take this gamble. To play this character, he goes all in on it. Like you mentioned, Nancy goes in all it too, his sidekick, and it's something that none of us will forget. I wish WWE Network would add some Florida content to Peacock because there's a lot I didn't get to see. That territory wasn't available to me here in the Northeast, and I'm sure I don't know if many of you.
I'd love to see it too.
I would love to go back and watch that stuff.
And I'm sure they pushed the envelope, but it was because it was a privately owned company, remember?
Yeah.
They weren't having to adhere to the public's don't do that or do this or whatever it was. Mike Graham's father, Eddie Graham, was a brilliant man and a genius, and he owned the company.
Do you know that he was the great Oz for when with Kevin Nash? So you had remember the Oz gimmick?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the guy behind the curtain. He was the He was the Grand Wizard. Nash was Oz, but Kevin Sullivan played the Grand Wizard.
Did we ever see him on camera?
I don't think so. No. Okay. They made sure that they hit him. If he was probably all done up and whatnot. But I don't know that that was one of his shining moments.
Probably not. But
Yeah.
so maybe he just did the voice behind the curtain, much like the Oldie was the Black Scorpion, but you never knew that.
Yeah. It was definitely a unique choice for sure.
It wasn't necessarily Oldie's shining hour being the Black Scorpion either. So
Yeah. Oh man. All
take the
right.
good with the bad.
Yeah. Well, and then you have him returning to WCW. Okay. But he is a genius, a super genius. Bryant Haremza has a question. And by the way, Arn, today is Bryant Haremza's birthday. He wanted to thank you for the birthday wish. You recorded not too long ago for him, but today we dropped it today, and today is his birthday, Bryant.
Happy birthday.
That's right. He says, Kevin, when Kevin and Paul had their show, I always enjoyed finding clips and sending them to Paul to play for Kevin. You did. Wrestling Rabbit Hole. I think that was the title of the guy's Twitter. Would play some great clips, some classics. He said, I have to ask, Kevin is always known for his booking, but do you think people overlook how good he was in the ring, Arn?
Now, I'm not going to say that he was a world class worker because he wasn't. He chose not to take very many bumps, and that was a heated issue with all of us occasionally. Shorty would spin around. He would not go off his feet.
Shorty.
Are you going to go down at all?
I
And
love it.
he came up to about right here on me, and I would be hitting him with everything but the kitchen
Oh.
sink. And he would just be spinning around and coming off the ropes. I mean, he was smarter than the rest of us, obviously, because I don't remember him being injured very much. But, it's like he was the whole package. He would go down just enough to keep it interesting. He was more of a brawler than a wrestler, truth be known. I mean, I've been in many fights with him, but I would never say I was in a 4-star match with him.
You talk about him, but he and I just saw it in the chat, Andrew Williams, he understood heat, as did JJ Dillon and Bill Watts. Very well said. As a kid, I remember him in the Varsity Club and the Games Master, and you had Rotundo and Rick Steiner and Dr. Death all in there, their alma maters, Jackets, Syracuse, Michigan, Oklahoma. And he was the one, kind of pushing it all, leading the group. And I also remember his beef with Jimmy Jam Garvin and Precious. He wanted Precious, and they had a good thing going, him and Jimmy Jam Garvin at the time. But just some fond memories of him. The Tower of Doom matches, the three cages on top of each other. Just such fun memories of Kevin. Do you have any memories back in the day of the Varsity Club and when he worked with that group, Rotunda and Dr. Death and that group?
He had 3 of the most legitimate athletes in the business in his group, but he was still able to be intelligent. I mean, these are all college educated guys, college athletes, world-class amateur athletes, world-class professional athletes. But he had that thing about him that he was like, how was this guy able to control these guys? How was he able to control their mind? And that little, he wasn't over the top when he was with the Varsity Club. He was just kind of the spokesman for the group. But he knew how to tone it down or amp it up depending on who he was in angle with and what was called for.
I got to talk about another pairing with Kevin Sullivan.